maybe. I don't want to make it sound old-fashioned because I'm quite proud of it, really. I think it's a very good show. But, and just to say it doesn't upset anyone and nobody uses bad language or bears their bottom, I think rather diminishes its appeal, but I don't know.
I remember I went to Towson, just outside Baltimore, and they said, oh, we're going to a bagel bakery. It was just in a little parade of shops. There was this little bagel bakery. I suppose, you know, it would comfortably seat about 50 people. And they said, come and have tea with Alistair. Come and have an English tea in a bagel bakery, but, you know, you make the best of it. Come and have an English tea with Alistair from As Time Goes By. So I turned up there, and it was like being a rock star. I had to go in the back through the kitchen because it was seething. There was a queue 200 yards long outside. One woman had driven 4 hours to get there, and it was incredible. I signed 600 photographs that afternoon, and was there for like 5 hours. And I was just amazed at the success of it. And because it runs constantly in America, it's much more, they're much more up to speed with it there than we are actually in this country, where it hasn't been repeated for a while. And so, you know, there were people telling me, oh, that bit of the script you did, and I haven't the faintest idea what you're talking about. I'm sorry, it's 6 years ago since I did that, you know, and they're going, oh yeah, that was the bit where you met that guy and you said that, and you said, oh, this one's for the potato farmer in Idaho. I said, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Incredible. And because of that, at the airport, people came up to me and said, you're in that As Time Goes By, aren't you? If I went to Heathrow now, no one would know who I was. Or they might just come up to me and say, you play that German football manager in Footballers' Wives. But, you know, because that's what I'm most recognised for in this country.
Well, it is extraordinary. I've been stopped all over the place for As Time Goes By. Actually, my wife and I went to the theatre, to the National Theatre the week before last. The Cottesloe, the small theatre in the National. I heard a few American kids, and I thought, how do these American kids get into the theatre in London? How do they know? Coming out at the end, I saw a little white-haired lady waiting for me, and she put her hands up, and she said, I don't believe this. I just don't believe this. And she caught a hold of my hand, and she said, we're on a theatre trip. I'm from California. This is the highlight of my trip. Sorry about the accent. This is the highlight of the whole trip. It's the highlight of the whole trip. And she was holding me like this, and that everyone had seen this very, very, very good play, supremely well acted. And the rest of the audience was going, what the hell is this about? And she wouldn't let me go. It's extraordinary, quite extraordinary. Lionel, I've come here, I've seen everything in London, and now I've seen you. And there were some young kids as well who also, you know, knew As Time Goes By.
It can be unintentionally quite lucrative as well. I remember I had a coffee machine once, a plunger, cafetiere, and we'd put this in the scene, and I remember Moira was pushing down the top of this cafetiere, and it was full of boiling water, and but they'd obviously just put an inferior brand of coffee in it because it had no pressure when she pushed it down. So pushed it down, the whole thing exploded. Hot water, coffee went everywhere in the middle of a scene. The audience watching it love that because they can go away and go, we saw it go wrong. They don't mind if it goes wrong. In fact, they love it if it does, because they can say to their friends, you wouldn't believe how long it took to shoot this scene because that kept falling off or that kept going wrong. And then with all these blooper programs out now, I suddenly find myself getting a check in the post from an outtake show somewhere in the middle of nowhere that's paying me for a mistake I made.
I suppose one of the favourite scenes of As Time Goes By, which I certainly looked forward to when I got the script, was the proposal. I seem to remember when I did it, I think I kind of mistimed something rather badly, but the scene was a terrific scene, and I got down on one knee and said whatever it was, and Judy said yes or something, and I said, I haven't finished yet, will you let me finish? And then I can't get up, and you know. It was a terrific scene, it was a gale of laughter, and it was fun to play with that wonderful lady. Yeah, another good bit, of course, was when I first took Jean to meet my father, played by Frank Middlemass, who in life is 8 years older than me, but nobody seemed to mind about that. It seemed to work. And lovely, sadly departed Joan Sims playing Madge. And of course I was terribly apprehensive, would it work? Because my idiot of a father and the terrible Madge. And of course Jean falls in love with Dad, and Dad falls in love with Jean and gives her a cricket ball, which is what I got at school, and it's all to the greater humiliation of Lionel, really. But a good scene with a nice sort of gentle Bob Larby twist. You know.
So throughout 2 series, I had 2 children whilst we were making As Time Goes By. The second child I had off camera during a break. So they didn't have to deal with me being pregnant, but they did have to deal with how big I was even after I'd had the baby when we came back. So we had a lot of special camera angles for me, and the director would make a lot of remarks about, I thought you'd had the baby. The second pregnancy, the weight's harder to shift. The first pregnancy I had on camera right the way through, because it happened to coincide, unfortunately, with a 10-episode series rather than a 6-episode series, which I'd been planning on. So I thought I would be able to sort of get to a certain stage and drop out, but they decided to go on and make 10 episodes and have a break in between. So by the time we finished filming, I was 7.5 months pregnant, and hugely so. I'm sure that probably people have noticed, but if they didn't notice I was pregnant, they probably noticed I put on a lot of weight, and I started to carry a lot of things all the time. So there will be a whole series where you would always see me with huge bunches of flowers in front of me, or takeaway meals that every time I walked into a room I had to be carrying something, walk in, turn to a certain angle and sit down and then not move. And then in the later episodes I would only be seen from here upwards. So that's fascinating for me to watch, because I can plot the progress of it as I go through, and how the clothes changed and became more flowing. So that's great. So I show my daughter that and say, you were on the television even before you knew it.
The scene I will always remember vividly from As Time Goes By was pretty well the first day's location filming, I think, when Judy and I had to go into the kiss. And it's always a bit of a difficult thing to kiss someone you don't know well. Everyone's a bit embarrassed. And to kiss a dame of the British Empire. But it was a wonderful scene. At the end, I think of, I don't know if it was the first episode of the first series. And I pull away from the kiss, and she says, "No, what's wrong now?" And I say, "I need a pee." Which I will always remember for the embarrassment and the kind of joy and the fun and the clever writing, really.
We never expected it to go on so long. I mean, the series itself seemed to have a sort of built-in ending. It started off as a will they, won't they series. Will they or won't they get back together? And if they get back together, will they or won't they get married? So once they were married, we thought, well, that's the end. It has no legs anymore. But I think the writer decided that, let's investigate what happens after that, and that proved to be successful. There proved to be some mileage in that, and so we kept going as long as that writer was able to produce the stuff, and as long as Judy and Geoffrey wanted to do it and were interested in it, then it kept going. You don't like to overextend something, take it beyond its natural life, and I think there's a point when you can sense that maybe we've gone too far now, and I think it went as far as it could. It went a lot further than we'd ever dreamed it would, and then it seemed to reach a natural end, and that's when we nipped it and said, that's it.
And when I come to think of it, why isn't it going on? Because Judy and I thought we should stop it, really. That's why it's not going on. I remember Judy and I having lunch during the first series and saying, "Do you think this will go at all?" And we both decided, well, we might do 2 or 3 series, might go to 3. And by the time it got to 8 and 9, I think, or at 9, we decided. Also, I mean, essentially, I suppose, because everybody in the world seems to want her to go to work for them. But we thought we'd better get out at the top rather than go on. And how long could Bob go on weaving these gossamer magical scripts? And I don't think it was the wrong decision. I mean, the BBC would have wanted us to go on forever because it was popular enough to fill a slot, but I think we'd all rather have stopped up there than do that, you know. That's why we sit now.